Most people are using the same password everywhere. Password policies, while they have good intentions, provide more trouble than they are worth. And here's why. Hi everyone, my name is Seth with Seth on Security, where we talk about cybersecurity topics and break down complex technical discussions into simpler pieces. And then we talk about the legal and ethical implications and the effects that they have on our daily lives. If you like the content, please like the video, subscribe, and let me know what you like in the comments down below. Today, we're talking about why password policies are just useless. First off, let's look at some data. The most common passwords in 2021, according to NordPass research, were the following: 123456, 123456789, 12345, QWERTY, and password. Of course, now this is alarming. But what's even worse is if we go back to 2015, 6 years earlier, and look at what the most common passwords were according to another study. This time, it's from Splash Data, and it was published at the beginning of 2016. The top 5 are 123456, password, 123456788, QWERTY, and 12345. By the way, if any of these are your password, please change them now. So how is this possible? Well, one factor may be oppressive password policies. Many people's passwords are reused for almost all of their accounts. They choose a password with high enough entropy to pass the policy, and then they use it everywhere as long as it fits the password policy of the next website. Microsoft research and NIST guidance states that these policies can cause users to choose passwords that are easier to guess. Asking users to use both letters and digits in their passwords will often lead to easy-to-guess substitutions, such as 3 for E or 1 for I. Here's the problem. We are thinking about passwords wrong. So what do you see in most password policies, right? Usually they require a lot of complexity. They require special characters, they require numbers, they require uppercase letters and lowercase letters, and they might even cost you some money or something, I don't know. But what they don't often require enough is one variable: length. And sure, you may have to have a 6-character password, but we're going to talk about why that's an issue. Length is more important than complexity because of how passwords are attacked. Short of social engineering and phishing, which are very effective at stealing passwords from unsuspecting users, the next best thing that an attacker can hope for is password hashes. Let me explain. Anyone storing data worth their weight is not storing your original password in plain text in a database. That is, the password is not visible in the database. Instead, passwords are stored using a one-way function called a hash. Think of a hash like two colors of paint. Each exist individually, but once combined, you can't extract the original colors from the new one. That's how a one-way function works. This way, your password is stored as the result of this one-way function as a hash, and anyone that obtains the hash doesn't know the password. Oh, pretty cool, huh? Well, it can still be found. See, hashes are one way. So that means if someone can guess the input of the hash while using the right algorithm, the hashing algorithm, then the hash will come out as the exact same as the one in the database. This is where the attack takes place. It's called brute forcing or password cracking. So at the risk of oversimplifying an attack, take this example. First, an attacker compromises a computer. Once they have control, they dump the password database onto their own computer or server or wherever they have, and they take the hashes and they attempt to crack them, which means that they guess the passwords offline using password cracking tools. These tools are able to guess billions of passwords every second. In fact, it's over 500 billion as of 2020. They find a match by guessing a word, say 12345, and hashing it with the same algorithm that was used to hash your password. If the two match, the two hashes, then they know your password and then have several options. They can use the credentials elsewhere and hack your Twitter and post tweets about you, or they could sell them for pennies on the dollar. Passwords are very cheap. Just an interesting side bit, I guess, but back to the video. So now that you understand how a password attack takes place and the most important parts of passwords is how hard they are to crack, let's examine why length is the most important factor in choosing a password. So really this just comes down to a bit of math. It's all about possible combinations. Now stick with me here. If your password is only 6 characters and only lowercase letters, here's how you would calculate the number of possibilities. It's just 26 to the 6th power. There are 26 possible choices for the first letter, 26 possible choices for the second, and so on. These choices are independent. You don't have to use different letters, so the size of the password space is the product of the possibilities, or 26 times 26 times 26 times 26 times 26 times 26, which is 26 to the 6th. Now, the product of that is 308,915,776. Now, so that's really not too bad. For humans, it'd be a tall task to try and brute force that. But we have to do better against our binary brethren, especially if they can attack 500 billion combinations per second. Okay, so let's do a little better. We can add uppercase letters to our password. Now that changes our calculation by 26 extra characters that we can have. So now we have 52 to the power of 6. 52 characters, 6 positions. 52 times 52 times 52 times 52 times 52 times 52. That product gives us 19,770,609,664 combinations. Okay, now we're talking a little bit better, right? And that's not bad. We only have a 6-character password. However, what if instead of adding characters to the equation and changing the exponent, we just add characters to the password itself? So take this example. If we have an 8-character password of only lowercase letters, so there's 26 raised to the power of 8, this number, which is just 2 characters more, no upper, no lower, no special characters or numbers, gives 208,827,064,576 combinations. That's over 10 times as many combinations as the 6-character password that allows 26 more possibilities at each position. You can probably see where we're going with this. A long password is a strong password. This is because of the exponential properties of guessing passwords and the exponential difficulty scaling of doing so. If we take the same 6-character password from earlier, with only lowercase letters, and make it 16 characters, it becomes incredibly strong against these attacks. Here's the number of possible combinations for 26 raised to the power of 16. 4.361 times 10 to the 22nd power. Now, this is one of the largest numbers I've had to read, so I'm not reading all of it, obviously, but that's 43 sextillion, which is 1 billion times more than 1 billion. That's a lot of combos. So many, in fact, that according to the data from Hive Systems on password cracking and password strength, it would take a password cracker 34,000 years to crack the password. Not only that, there's a couple other big benefits to this on top of having a very strong password. The first is that passwords can remain simple and be very strong, which makes them a lot easier to remember without a bunch of numbers and special characters thrown in that can really hurt our ability to recall. The other benefit of this is the possibility for the use of a phrase. 8 characters or 6 characters is really not enough for much more than a word or two, but 16 to 20, we can fit a small sentence into our password. This makes them incredibly simple to remember. So, look at this. Which of these 2 passwords is easier to remember? Personally, I think the phrase, "the flowers are great," is very easy to remember. But the real beauty is which is more secure. The phrase, "the flowers are great," would take 23 million years to crack. The more complex password, the higher entropy password of nature 345, would only take about 3 days. And this password is much more complex than just "the flowers are great," all lowercase. See, this is where password policies get it wrong. Oftentimes, the policies only require 6 characters and then require numbers, special characters, and upper and lowercase letters. What this encourages is a weak password between 6 and 9 characters that's easy to break, hard to remember, and used on every website. Even worse, because of some legacy technology, another word for old systems, some places put a cap on the number of characters in a password. They may not allow more than 8 or 10 or 12. Now that's a recipe for disaster if that were to get out. So, how do we fix this? I'm going to give a few ideas that I think would produce a win-win scenario for both consumer and company. Because with these propositions, consumers have a password that is easier to remember and more secure, and companies will have a simpler policy that will protect their users better. Now first, ban commonly attacked passwords. That's really that easy. Take the top 200 most common passwords and make it so that no one can use it. Big problem solved right there. Second, turn off traditional complexity and expiration rules. Oh my gosh, especially expiration rules. Holy cow. Password expiration, in my opinion, is not useful if it's just generating an equally simple password. In fact, I'm sure everyone watching has just added a 1 or an exclamation point to their password to make it their new password after the old one expires. Hey, me too. I don't want to remember a whole new password. But what I'm saying is there really isn't much value in consistent required password changes because that is often not the actual issue. Sure, password rotation maybe every 6 months to a year is probably a fairly healthy security requirement, but much less than that, and I personally do not see the value. Now third, require passwords that are 12 characters or longer and encourage the use of a passphrase. Now, there's best practices with these too, like make them unrelated things or put a weird sentence together. The flowers example earlier isn't really a best passphrase because it's just very simple. But maybe one like, cowboy eats red rocks would be a good combination. Give it a shot. Just the more random, the better. And it shouldn't relate to the site. So don't put stuff about a bank if you are making a password for your bank site. Just a heads up. So with this, users don't need special characters or even numbers to have a strong password, but they can choose to put them if they would like, and it will add characters to the password. It will make passwords much easier to remember for consumers, and everybody wins. The one thing we didn't talk about is personal password manager solutions, but those of course are a great option as well, and really could probably have their own video. Hopefully, you're inspired to make a change to a few of your own passwords after seeing this. If so, kudos to you. That's a great measure for your online security.